Travis Campbell here of MarketingProfessor.com, and I'm glad you're watching this video. Today's expert interview is with the gentleman you see right above my head there. I'll introduce you to him in just a moment. But a few months ago, on one of my main sites, I had an issue, a major issue that I couldn't fix, and I didn't know anyone at that time that could. And that's when I called the gentleman you see above me. And if you operate a WordPress site, you're going to want to watch this video, because we're not just going to talk about how great WordPress is per se. We are going to share some tips and some of his expert plugins. He's been using WordPress since 2004. He's going to share his preferred plugins. But we're also going to talk about the value of hosting if you're getting started, and depending on the phase of where your business is with your WordPress blog, as well as some other little snippets and tidbits. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you today Brian Lehman of eHermits Inc. Brian has been, like I said, working with WordPress since 2004, since version 1.2. As of today, it's at 3.12. He's a core contributor. He specializes in custom plugins for clients. He's really good at securing WordPress and optimizing it for performance. He's familiar with getting WordPress rolling on Amazon Web Services, and he's worked with high-end clients like Borland International, B5 Media, Darren Rouse of ProBlogger, and other folks. So he's Marketing Professor's vendor of choice when it comes to WordPress, and I'm just privileged that he's decided to come on and talk with us today. Brian, without further ado, Brian Lehman. Brian, where are you talking to us from today?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm coming to you from Northeast Ohio, and small little town called Uniontown. We're just about an hour south of Cleveland. So,
excellent.
Well, thank you again for having
someone that has grew up in Cleveland, actually just outside of Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, there in Mentor, Ohio, of all places. Can you tell me whether or not you're a Browns fan?
Well, I have to say no, I'm not. I was imported from Pennsylvania, so I just happen to have the Steelers AFC Conference Championship shirt on here, and
nice.
So yeah, one of the things that surprised me about living out here is how many Steelers fans there are out here.
Well, they just had their hearts
with a team like the Browns, you have to root for the best,
Been heartbroken so many times they finally went over to the dark side. But sorry it didn't work out for you this last year at the Super Bowl. But
yeah,
at least you had a Super Bowl.
It was a good game, though. It was a good game.
It was.
I will say.
It was. Well, to WordPress. So we first met in Las Vegas, of all places. I remember it well on the floor there at the Luxor, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I was introduced to you as you were a WordPress security expert, and you'd just done a presentation, I think, there at Blog World. And then a couple months later, I was just at my wit's end. One of the sites I operate, Marketing Professor, in fact, kept getting frozen. And it was causing a lot of issues. Obviously readers can't get to the content if the content's not served. And I kind of called you out of desperation, and you were gracious enough to respond. Talk to folks just briefly about that from your perspective.
Well, your site was in a condition that's kind of fairly common now. It becomes, when sites become more and more popular, like yours has done over time, you tend to reach the limits of your hosting, and you have to consider what's going to be your next step. And in your particular case, the website was slow on loading pages, and that can have effects as not only on just the visitors that are seeing your site right there, but also the visitors that might come to your site, because Google is not going to send people to sites that are loading slowly. They want people to be rewarded for clicking on the sites that are on the first page, and so they drop the page rank down for sites that are loading slowly. So it's a serious situation.
Well, it was probably a blessing in disguise, I guess you could say, because my site wasn't just loading slowly; it was not loading.
Right.
And I think there was memory filling up, or it was exhausting the capacity of that server. I don't remember the exact details.
Right. And if I remember right, you were in a situation where you had to go in and reboot the server in order to get it kicked and get it going
Yeah,
again.
and I was actually doing that daily, sometimes multiple times a day. It's very frustrating when you
not
do
good.
a post. When you do a post and then a bunch of people come to see it from Twitter or wherever else, and the page doesn't load. So, well, and let me just interject really quick. The internet today, for some reason, is congested. I'm not sure what's going on. So if we get jumpy on the screen, pardon our jumpiness if that happens, if there's a glitch. But hopefully you get value out of this content. I have included some resources in the description part of this video just below here that talks about some of the things we're going to allude to. Also, if you're not already on Marketing Professor watching this video, there's a link to the post in the description as well, just below this. So you're going to want to go and check that out, and we include a sort of a summary of what we talked about in this video. So yeah, so the site was problematic. I called you, I think, on a Wednesday. You fixed some stuff on that host on Thursday, and on Friday I decided, hey, if I'm remembering this right, correct me if I'm not, but I believe on Friday I decided, hey, you offered, and we moved hosts over to what you're offering. And by Saturday sometime, I think it was up and running over on your host. Everything converted beautifully, and it's been running very, very smooth over there ever since for probably, I don't know, 6 months now, something like that?
At least that.
Yeah. So it's been a great experience. It's part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on. I'm not someone that just jumps on anything and just promotes something. I like to kind of engage with a product or with a service for a little while before I feel comfortable introducing folks, and you've totally surpassed my hopes and expectations, so kudos to you, and thanks again. I've thanked you many times, but this time publicly for all your help. But let's talk about, really, there's what I would classify as two phases, right, of bloggers. People get excited about WordPress, right, because it's very popular, it's very easy to set up, and it's very flexible. There's a lot of different software add-ins and plugins that you can use with WordPress to make it do all kinds of different things. But there's really like a beginner / novice user, right? And then there's emerging and experienced bloggers that are getting more traffic, and it's really becoming core to their business. And I recommend that beginners get started on a beginner platform. They typically don't have a lot of money. They may have big dreams, but they just don't have big wallets. And I've included links to hosts below that provide that type of hosting. If you're moving beyond that and you're starting to get more traffic, etc., they need to look at more of a managed hosting situation, which is what you offer as well, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in some more detail in just a minute, but talk to folks about, you introduced me to some plugins that I hadn't heard of before, and I'm wondering if you could talk about those for just a minute. And if you're watching this video, I would encourage you to check out these plugins, maybe even test them on your own blog if you're not using them already. But could you run down maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite free plugins, and then maybe a couple of paid plugins as well? Because sometimes you do need to pay for plugins and software. They're going to make a difference to your site, and you have people behind it or a company that supports it. So few free ones and then some paid ones.
Yeah, this is one of the questions we get all the time at the WordPress meetup that I do. What are the most popular plugins that you use out there? And with my hosting services, I provide some of them along with it. They're just automatically installed. The most obvious one is Akismet, because that is what keeps your spam down, and you don't have your blog overrun by hundreds of spam comments an hour. Some of the other ones that I do are a little bit more specialized that really help accelerate your blog and help both the speed and the SEO performance of it. One of those is WordPress Seo by Yoast, and Yoast is actually spelled like it's Joost, like juiced. But WordPress Seo is the name of that one, and it helps Google find the content on your site more easily, and does a little bit of extra tweaking. Now, WordPress is really good for SEO just straight out of the box, but this does a little extra tweaking to give you a little bit extra Google juice, as I call it.
Exactly, yeah. There are several SEO plugins out there. I just started using the plugin from WordPress SEO from Yoast, and really think he's done a really fine job with it. So, any other free plugins before you talk about the premium plugins?
The one that I use is kind of a high-end one called W3 Total Cache. And what it does is it. We all know that different parts of the computer are faster and slower than the other, and this takes stuff that would be loaded off the hard drive on your server and loads it off of memory. So it makes your site run much faster just by clicking a couple checkboxes.
Excellent.
And so it's one of the ones that I really like out there.
Very good, very good. And yeah, that's totally made a difference in the performance of Marketing Professor for sure. Other paid plugins, perhaps. Maybe we could transition there.
Okay, there are two that are my favorite. One, I don't actually use this one myself, but I have many friends who do and absolutely swear by it. It's called Backup Buddy, and it does automatic backing up of your files and your database, and it's done by the folks at iThemes. It's a very powerful, wonderful program. There are some other backup tools like WP Backup that do similar functions and can email you backups, but this one actually integrates with the Amazon S3 and other types of online storage so that your backup's always available, and so that if you go down, you can immediately do the restore. And knowing how to restore is at least as important as knowing how to back up your site.
Right, and I think that's the big point, is they might get to the place where they actually have it backing up, but what they don't know is if it crashes and they need to restore it, how they're going to do that, and is it going to work? Is the backup going to be a good backup, or is it a corrupt backup? That type of thing.
Right. So if you have your backup in your email box every day, do you know what you're going to do with it?
Exactly.
And if you do, that's great. And if you don't, you better figure that out now.
Right.
Because you don't want to try and figure that out whenever your site's been down for 24 hours and you're already panicking.
Exactly. We talked about prior to this discussion, we talked about this other form-based plugin. What was that called again?
Right. Gravity Forms. This is probably my favorite premium plugin out there right now. Gravity Forms is by Rocket Genius, and it's a very powerful. It's not. I hesitate to call it a contact form, but that's what most people start using it as. But it's a very powerful form-based plugin. You can do contact forms. It's powerful enough that you can do. I've done e-commerce sites using it. I've done newsletters using it, and membership logins, that sort of thing. So the neat thing about this is that it's not just email based. So if you have somebody fill out your form and for some reason you don't get that, maybe it's put in your spam box, or maybe you accidentally hit delete. The information is stored in the WordPress admin pages. So you can go into the dashboard and you can search for keywords that you're looking for in the forms that they filled out, or if this is an evaluation or application form, you can go in and you put notes inside the form and you have access to that information. So it's a really powerful plugin. It's one of my favorites that are out there.
Very cool. A lot of forms get spam, junk that's filled in there. Does it integrate with some sort of a CAPTCHA mechanism to protect folks from that?
Yes. You can do it in several different methods. There are lots of. The neat thing is that there are lots of plugins for this plugin, so you can use reCAPTCHA with it, and or integrate it with your newsletter plugin and things like that. So
excellent. Very good. So we talked about a couple different things so far, a little bit about my experience and how I came to find you. We talked about sort of beginner/novice bloggers that might want to get started right away and they don't have a lot of money, and then folks that are starting to get more traffic. And I think we didn't allude to this, but there's a good point that there's no magic number when you need to go to like a WordPress managed solution, for example, or managed services. It's more or less like, is it how meaningful is it to your life, to your business, to what you're trying to do by publishing content on the web? At that point is when you think about going to a managed WordPress hosting. Is that fair?
Yes, I would say it is. Everybody likes to have this magic number so they can look at, okay, I've got this number of page views. That means I move over to this step.
Right.
But there's the measuring methods that are out there, whether you're looking at Google Analytics or AWS Stats or Webalizer, they all have different values.
Right.
One might be 10,000 here, while another is 20,000, while another is 3,000, and they're all measuring the same thing.
Right.
And so I try to have people move away from that solid number to, how important is it to you? How much of your daily life and your thought process is it taking up? Is it bringing in income that to a point where it makes a lot of sense that you really should be investing more money into your solution?
Right.
Samuel Wood, known as Otto on the internet, threw out a number of, if you're serious about your website, you should put in $30 a month at least, and that got a lot of controversy because it was just a number picked out of the air. But
Right.
a lot of people said, oh no, you can get hosting for a whole lot less. Why should you spend $30 a month? And other people said, you're absolutely right. In fact, I would recommend spending more because with plugins and everything else, you need to be investing in moving this site forward.
Right.
But it's really an evaluation of how important is it to you. What would your day like be tomorrow if your website was gone and there was nothing that you could do to bring it back?
Right. Exactly. And
that's your evaluation.
And at some point, the business owner, they've exhausted their ability, their own resources. At some point, you have to make a decision that, you know what, I need to get a person that has expertise with this platform. Because you can have all the plugins in the world, but then there's this whole concept that plugins can conflict. We've come up with that on my site a number of times. Plugins can conflict. So now you got to diagnose where the conflict resides. I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the know-how. And a lot of you that are watching this video, you don't either. And even if you do, think about the time loss. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at, is the time and the productivity loss, where you could be getting links or creating content or going to traveling or doing other things that's more enjoyable to you. And there's a phrase out there, hire people that play at what you work at.
I like that. And I like that a lot.
So you play with this WordPress stuff. You've been doing it for 7 years. I don't play with it. It is work to diagnose and troubleshoot problems. So I want to hire someone that plays at that thing. So that's the concept of that. And the name of the gentleman that said it, I apologize. If I can remember it, I'll give credit in the description below. But I think that there's some wisdom in that, and that you have to, if you're going to scale, you've got to bring on experts to help you get there. And that's where a managed WordPress hosting can make sense for those that are blogging on that platform. So we've kind of gone a long time here. I apologize for the length of this video, but hopefully you've gotten some value out of it. Brian, what do you offer? What are your services, and how can people find out more about you and getting in touch with you?
Okay. My website, the company that I run, is called eHermits Inc. And what I do is I do provide managed WordPress hosting, as you mentioned. There are a number of other companies out there that do the same thing, and we each have our own areas of specialty where we focus. And most of us have done it because of exactly what you had said. This is what we play at. This is what we enjoy. We enjoy doing these little problems. One of the things that I really enjoy is rescuing hacked sites, rescuing sites that have been corrupted, that are or are not running, because I really enjoy helping people who are in difficult situations. And so that's one of the reasons why I started eHermits. The name came from the fact that I'm always on the computer all the time, and so they figure that I'm some sort of hermit out there. Only I'm an eHermit,
Right.
So
and again, it's www.ehermitsinc.com, correct?
.com.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll put it in the notes below this video as well. Great. Any other closing words for folks, or advice, or perhaps things that you see? I actually would be interested to know, what do you see in the future of WordPress? What's the future of WordPress? What direction is it taking, or what trajectory is it on? What can folks expect from the WordPress platform going forward as publishers?
Well, I think that it's going to continue to progress to become much more of a publishing environment. Used to have all these programs, PageMaker and Word, that you could do all these really fancy editing tools and everything. And as you've watched WordPress grow over the years, more and more of that publishing is they're desiring that to be out of the website. So we're going to see the editors become more powerful. We're going to see the handling of media and the things that you can do within media become more and more integrated right within WordPress itself. And it's become less focused on blogging in a diary and more focused on creating separate standalone pages for businesses.
Excellent. Closing words for folks that are watching this video before we let you go.
Well, evaluate what your site's worth to you and act accordingly. People are scared of spending money, but sometimes the benefits of spending a little bit of time and effort on your site can really reward you.
Excellent advice, and it is a business decision. I mean, if somebody has a vision for a site that's grander than themselves or where they're at, they'll still get that. But if you don't, if it's just a hobby, then perhaps staying where you're at is going to be a good move. If not, and it's growing and you want to see it grow further and scale well on the technical side, then my wholehearted commendation to check out what Brian has to offer and go and visit him on his site. And besides just your website, you're also on Twitter, correct?
Correct. And I'm most anywhere as Brian Layman.
Brian Layman. BrianLayman. Correct. Got it. Yes. Very good. Well,
and it all boils down to, if it's a business, treat it like a business.
Exactly. Good advice. Well, again, my name is Travis Campbell with today's expert and my distinguished guest, Brian Layman, just above my head here. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again real soon on the web. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you.